Hello and welcome to another update on XRP. Yeah, the XRP chart, you see it here on the larger time frame, is still moving within a broader range. I discussed the XRP chart in more depth in one of the last videos, but in this video still we want to take a quick look at the daily chart, or 4-day actually, the 4-day chart, just to highlight, look, everything is still on track here. We're still in a bullish scenario. And the idea is still, and that's the broader picture, that's still valid, still relevant, we should stretch towards $4.20, $5, maybe even $5.65 in this fifth wave to the upside. How that all comes together, integrates into the bigger picture, I discussed that in one of the recent videos. We can do that again going forward. But the idea is still, as long as we're holding the 50% retracement level at $1.21, that fifth wave to the upside is a realistic and actually the preferred outlook. Yeah. Now, we did say that more directly, the price could obviously already have bottomed in this wave 4. We don't need another low, technically speaking. It could have bottomed already, but we don't know that yet. XRP is certainly one of the winners today, just in line with finally working on this fifth wave to the upside would be great. And we'll talk a little bit about some options on the smaller time frame in a minute, okay, how this could all come together. So please note that some of the resistances that we're tracking here are the previous swing highs, specifically here around $3.02 and then also $3.42. So these are just the swing highs, right? So let's also take a look at the smaller time frame, which wave patterns we have, and did support hold? Did it break? No, in fact, support held. So we see some further upside continuation here at the moment. There are a few options how this can be interpreted. So obviously, for those of you who've been watching the previous videos, you guys were aware of the micro support zone. These support areas, they can act as either entry zones if you're trading pullbacks. Yeah, so this was defined between $2.34 and $2.26. Price held for one more high. Or they can act as a signal once the market breaks below, for example, 226. That would have been our signal that a larger correction in wave 2 is underway. Now, looking at this, I mean, it could still be a fifth wave to the upside, to be fair, and that would actually make sense because what we're dealing with here is a diagonal pattern. So in a diagonal pattern, we're dealing with subwave structures that are corrective. So one interpretation would be that in our blue scenario, this was a 5-wave move up in wave A, wave B, wave C. And you see here the example why I am not someone who's calling a top in a bullish market, yeah, because it doesn't make sense. So what we're doing, we're tracking structures and then we're adding the relevant support levels that keep the trend intact. And support is now, I mean, this was a support zone, so we can add the next support level now. Let's do that, micro support, against which the focus can still be on higher prices, right? I just need to remove here this lower section so I have some space, some room to add that micro support area. And this is the 50% retracement of the last rally. This is just micro support, okay? So it's not so meaningful. Even if we break below it, it will not invalidate or destroy the overall bullish thesis here for XRP. So micro support, okay? So this is one scenario. Another scenario that we discussed briefly before was this. Let me think about it. Is that correct? Yeah. Was this one. So wave 1 to the upside, wave 2, we're already in the third wave, and we go up directly to our targets there around $5, right? So this is also plausible. This would be a directly bullish scenario in which the price could go up directly. Either way, it doesn't matter which one it is, because as long as support levels are holding, the focus can be on higher prices, right? That's very important. So bottom line is, we had a micro support zone that held. Price is now pushing higher in what could be wave C of 5. But if the market continues to stretch, specifically above $2.91, it becomes more and more probable. I mean, this is already long for a fifth wave. Yeah? And due to the choppy nature of whatever happened here before, the overall wave pattern will likely shift. However, we've been constantly watching for higher prices still, so I don't intend to change that until we finally have clear confirmation of a top. So next resistance, so we have some structural resistance here where we're now around 260, then 263, and this seems to be a meaningful one though at around $3.02, this B wave high. I don't think there's any reason to change anything at the moment. Just please note that any decisive break below $2.48 would be an indication of a top. Looks like this C wave might still stretch a little higher though. And we can even add a micro target zone for the internal C wave, because this looks like we had 5 waves up in A, moved down in B, and we're now tracking for the 100% extension, which is located there between 277 and 297. So that would be the next micro target zone, you could say. That's the update on XRP. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, if you're interested in additional updates, some of you might not know that, but we actually have a main channel, MCO Global, for additional updates, more in-depth content, longer videos, long-term updates, in-depth analysis, stocks updates. So there's much more to be found there. And soon we are also going to do another XRP video on that one. Make sure you follow us there as well for that more in-depth content. The link is in the description and also pinned in the comment section. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.